The search for a new Supreme Court justice. Vice President Mike Pence is said to have met with some of the candidates for America's highest court in the land. This is according to the Associated Press. This coming as the Wall Street Journal reports that President Trump has whittled his selection down to 3 frontrunners who are all appeals court judges: Brett Kavanaugh, Raymond Kethledge, and Amy Coney Barrett. President Trump weighing in on getting his nominee in place before the midterm elections when he spoke with Maria exclusively last week.
I think we're going to have a lot of support. I think we're going to have support from Democrats, frankly. I think if it's the right person, I'm going to pick the right person. I'm going to pick somebody that's outstanding. And everybody on that list is outstanding, but I'm going to pick somebody who's outstanding.
The president is gearing up to announce his nominee this Monday, maybe with great fanfare. Joining us is former presidential candidate, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor Huckabee, your take on this?
Well, first of all, I think it's great that the vice president is sitting in on some of these interviews and talking with people. It's a clear indication that the president has great confidence in his vice president, makes him a part of the team. That's good for America. It's also, I think, significant that the president is looking at this very carefully. He put out a list of 25 people before he was even elected. No president in history has ever been this transparent about the manner in which he goes about the process and the kind of people he's looking for. And even his critics should at least give him some respect and thank him for the process in which he's engaging.
Right, where he is really reaching out to many individuals to get their thoughts on these individuals, and we saw this with Judge Gorsuch, that it was based, his selection was based on written opinions and the thinking behind them, not just do I like the person when I sit down in a meeting with them. And I think that because people criticize the president for being rash and operating from his gut, but this is a very serious decision that he's making, and he's treating it with that kind of gravity.
Methodical, thoughtful, and meticulous is the manner in which he approached the Gorsuch nomination and the way he's doing this. And I could not agree more with your observation that the criticism of President Trump is that he just wakes up one morning and decides, I'm going to do something really bizarre. That is not the way he functions. It may appear that way, but he is far more thoughtful and I believe way more insightful. He listens carefully, he seeks advice from people, and he takes advice from people. And that's something that we ought to be happy about. And I think it's going to be hard for the Democrats to bring up a justified reason to oppose his candidate. Remember, they may not particularly like the person. They may not agree with how that person may approach the Constitution, because a lot of Democrats think that the Constitution should be interpreted according to the latest contemporary culture. But if he appoints someone who is a true constitutionalist, an originalist, someone who looks at the text, then they really have a hard time denying what President Obama once said: elections have consequences.
This is also a political decision in the sense of you want somebody who gets conservatives excited, or that the conservatives like, but also somebody who you can get through the Senate with a 51-49 majority for the Republicans. Senator John McCain absent because of his illness for the most part. But you look at an Amy Barrett, for example, and when she passed, when she was appointed to the 7th Circuit, I think it was just last year, you had 3 Democrats who voted for her: Joe Donnelly, Joe Manchin, and Tim Kaine. And Joe Manchin is in that critical Trump state, if you will. Joe Donnelly from her home state. So again, there is that political calculation as well.
They have to look at that carefully if they want to keep their Senate seat. And have you ever met a U.S. senator who didn't want to stay? I mean, let's face it, this is one of the things the old saying is, you either go out by the ballot box or a pine box, because that's basically the way it works. The fact is, these guys want to win their elections, and they're going to have a hard time justifying to the voters in their states that, yes, this particular nominee met all the criteria, but I just wanted to do what Chuck Schumer told me to do. Well, that's just another New York senator when you do that. And that's going to be a TV ad I'd love to write, and I think a lot of other Republicans would as well.
I want to move on to North Korea. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveling to the Hermit Kingdom today for another round of discussions about disarming the country's nuclear program. Governor Huckabee, your expectations?
Well, I think what Mike Pompeo is going to say is that we made a serious effort to reach out to you, sit down with you, give you all of the trappings of international relevance. And if you betray us, then you need to understand that these consequences that you'll face from this administration are not the consequences of a strongly worded letter, which you might have received from previous administrations. There will be hell to pay, and I think that I mean that in the most literal way, if the North Koreans do not move toward denuclearization. I don't think there's any doubt, but that's the message that the Secretary of State will be delivering to, this week to the Hermit Kingdom leader.
Morgan, Mike Pompeo has said the U.S. hopes to achieve this major disarmament in the next 2.5 years, but National Security Advisor John Bolton just earlier this week said it should be a year would be sufficient to dismantle nuclear, chemical, biological, and ballistic missiles programs. What is the significance of the fact that Mike Pompeo is on this trip?
I think that, well, first of all, I think the administration has walked back a little bit of that timeline. The 2.5 years was what Pompeo, I believe, testified to in Congress, and that's all ambition. I think it's clear this is Pompeo's third trip to North Korea, so it's clear that he is the president's go-to person, you know, as it relates to getting this deal done. And I think, you know, Governor, I think that a lot of people are throwing cold water on the summit. It only happened 3 weeks ago, and so I'm hoping what Secretary Pompeo can achieve is a real timeline for an agreement, a process that we have to work out. And I'd like to see some full disclosure from truth from the North Koreans on how many weapons they have, how many facilities have, the secret ones that we have said that we actually know about. Is there going to be some truth and honesty here? Are we coming back with the POW remains? A lot on Secretary Pompeo's list this week.
Morgan, I think you've really nailed a number of areas where Mike Pompeo is going to be asking for some very specific answers, and that's important. But I do appreciate the fact that Mike Pompeo, as well as John Bolton, many other members of the president's team, these are first-class professionals. These aren't people who last year were, you know, just tending a store somewhere and selling dry goods, and then now they're negotiating peace for the world. These are people with extraordinary backgrounds and capabilities, and I think you're going to see them go to work. And, you know, the idea that everything's going to be done in a week or two, nobody expected that. I certainly didn't. But I believe this president has opened up at least a relationship and a dialogue that will lead to one of two things. They will either denuclearize by their own hand and move into the family of nations, or they will be denuclearized by force, and it won't be pretty, and Kim Jong-un will not be sitting atop North Korea.
I think the bottom line is it better not look like the Iran nuclear deal, which we pulled out of under President Trump.